Welcome back to the Grind, Sleep, Repeat podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about how you can put on 5 to 10 pounds of lean muscle mass the right way.
Yeah, I know a lot of people set out to build muscle and they gain a bunch of weight too quickly, or the opposite side of the spectrum, they see no progress. So, we want to go through the full guide on how to effectively build muscle. We'll talk about the diet, we'll talk about the training, we'll talk about the recovery, we'll talk about how you can effectively put on the 5 to 10 pounds of lean muscle mass. We're not talking about putting on 5 to 10 pounds of body fat. We're talking about how you can place the stimulus on your body, set your diet up in a way that you can put on lean muscle mass and really minimize body fat gain. Now, with that said, anytime that we're trying to gain muscle, if we're more aggressive with that approach, you do run the risk of putting on body fat in the process. So that's why a lot of the tips that we want to talk about today are going to help minimize that body fat gain. That way, when you're able to put on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle mass, you don't have a lot of body fat or excess body fat that you put on that you have to strip down in a caloric restriction or a diet phase.
Yeah, and it's a process to put on muscle mass. A lot of times, you hear the terms bulky and women fearing getting bulky because they're lifting weights. There is definitely more to that puzzle than just lifting weights. So that's kind of what we're going to touch on today. So why don't we go ahead and start with the nutrition first?
Yeah. So basic calories, anytime you want to gain weight, if you're looking to gain muscle, you have to be eating in a caloric surplus. Now, we have a lot of clients that have the goal of building muscle, and it's up to the client, how aggressive they want to be. And it's the same thing for you. Do you want to be super aggressive where you struggle putting on weight? You want to put on as much weight as possible. Maybe have like a time frame that you're trying to put on weight. Then we're going to be a little more aggressive with that caloric surplus.
Yeah.
Do you want to build muscle a little slower and minimize body fat that you're putting on? We're going to be a little less aggressive. But bare minimum, you need to be eating your maintenance calories. Bare minimum. You cannot be in a caloric deficit and put on significant amount of muscle mass if you've been training for more than a couple of years. When people are new to the gym, it's easier to see body recomposition where they're putting on muscle mass, losing body fat, or if they're following a new program, again, it's easier for someone to see muscle gain and body fat loss. So bare minimum, caloric maintenance, you need to be there. Ideally, we need to be in a caloric surplus, meaning that you're eating more calories than your body's burning. And ideally, it can be anywhere from 150 to all the way up to 500 additional calories. Again, it's just up to the person on how aggressive they want to be. And we're talking about calories and eating a caloric surplus. This is not your excuse to pound donuts and cookies and ice cream. Like, we're talking about eating high quality food that's going to fuel your body and is going to set yourself up for success on putting on lean muscle mass. That's the whole gist of the podcast today is putting on lean muscle mass, because anybody can go put on 10 pounds of fat like in a month. If you just bulk and you feed yourself a bunch of crappy food, a bunch of sugar, you're going to put on body fat really quick. So eating the right kind of food is super important to be able to fuel your body in a way that you can come in, train hard, and put on the right kind of weight.
Yeah, and aside from, focusing on whole foods and being in the surplus, you also want to make sure you focus on protein. And we have touched so much on protein over and over again, but we always want to be in that 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per body weight. During the surplus time, you really probably want to focus more on that 1 gram. You could even go higher. This is going to help you build the muscle. If we're not recovering properly by fueling properly with, proper amounts of protein, you're not going to see the muscle mass and the gains that you're looking to see.
Yeah. And a lot of times people think that protein is like magic. All protein is doing, and whether it's through a whole food source or a supplement, it's helping you repair your muscle tissue. So
Mhm.
we're coming in, we're training hard, we're breaking down our muscle in the gym, and we'll talk about training in a second. But you're breaking down your muscle tissue, you need to repair it. And if you don't eat an adequate amount of protein, then you're going to run the risk of just spinning your wheels. So eating, like Alyssa mentioned, that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is a great place to start. And if you're looking to maximize building muscle, that's where you got to be. Some people can see benefit from going a little bit higher, but
Mhm.
a lot of the clients that we train, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is really the sweet spot. You can play around with going a little bit higher, but I would not get crazy with this. You don't need 2 times your body weight in protein. That's just wasted calories that you could be eating those extra calories from carbohydrates and feeling your body better.
Right.
So 1 gram protein, eat whole food sources, meats, lean meats, chicken, turkey, pork, lean ground beef. You could do steak, you could do eggs, you could do fish, you could do Greek yogurt, you could cottage cheese, and then use a protein powder like our Fit Grind Whey protein as an extension of your diet to fill in the cracks. So
Yep.
typically what I'll do with our protein is I'll usually have like 2 to 3 scoops a day. 2 scoops every midday while I'm here at the gym and we're in between personal training sessions. It's kind of like my mid-morning snack just to make sure that I'm getting adequate amounts of protein. And then I'll typically do another scoop either after my workout or before bed. So that's giving me about 75 grams of protein through a supplement. The rest of my protein is coming through whole food sources, through my diet, through the foods that we were talking about.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the easiest way to make sure that you're getting in enough protein is by splitting that up throughout the day too. It's going to digest a lot easier if you break that up between meals too. And it's going to help balance out those blood sugar levels too. So you're not trying to say, okay, I got to get 1 gram per body weight of protein and it's 4 o'clock, in the afternoon. And you're like, shoot, I've only had, 10 grams so far today, and trying to shove all that in one sitting. First of all, you're going to feel like crap. And second of all, your body's not going to be able to digest that as well. So making sure you split that up throughout the day is important too.
Yeah, typically what we'll do with our personal training clients, our online training clients, we usually start people off with 3 meals and 2 snacks.
Yep.
One, that's going to just help you stay satiated and full throughout the day. But 2, it's going to space up that protein like Alyssa mentioned. So for example, if you're trying to get 200 grams of protein a day, you're going to feel a lot better. You're going to be able to digest it a lot better if you break that up into 5 meals a day, 3 meals and 2 snacks.
Yep.
40 grams of protein, 50 times 4 gives you 200. So that's going to, like I said, that's just a pure example there, but that's going to help you space it out a little bit better.
Yep.
And then carbohydrates are super important. Making sure that you're eating enough high quality carbohydrates. If you're looking to bulk, you're going to want at least 40% of your calories, if not 45 to 50% of your calories coming from high quality carbohydrates. Things like potatoes, rice, whole grain pastas, whole grain breads, oatmeal, fruit, all these carbohydrate sources that are going to give you energy. They're going to help you store glycogen in your muscle. You're going to use that during your workouts, and it's really going to help you put on lean muscle mass. So do not think that carbohydrates need to be limited. You need to have a lot of healthy carbohydrates. Again, I'm not talking about ice cream and donuts and cookies. We're talking about high quality carbohydrates. So
Yep.
a gram of protein, high carbohydrate, making sure you're having enough fat in your diet as well. These are good general recommendations, but if you guys are looking for specific macros, we'd love to help you out. We have a free resource on our website. I'll leave the link in the description below where you can go click on that link. You can fill out a form. We'll actually do a free macro calculation for you. So this is something that we provide a little more in depth with all of our online training clients and our personal training clients, but we can give you a great place to start if you have questions on how many calories, how many carbs, fat, protein do I need to be eating to reach my goal. So after you're done listening today, definitely go check that out. Like I said, the link is in the comments in the description below.
Yeah. So getting into our next big topic, obviously, is going to be the training, which we're doing in the gym, strength training, and still implementing cardio, because as you know, we are big hybrid training athletes. We still like to implement in cardio. But the biggest tip that I can give you here is when you are focusing on building muscle, that your strength training is going to come priority over the cardio sessions. If we're doing too much cardio, that can hinder the muscle building process. And I know when I do a lot of cardio, I tend to be more hungry, and you just almost can't keep up with how much food you need to be eating, especially when you're trying to be in that surplus if you're doing too much cardio. And then it therefore also gets in the way of your strength training and being able to exert the energy and effort that you need in the gym for strength. So the way that you can break this up is doing, lower intensity cardio sessions along with hitting your strength training sessions, hitting each muscle group at least twice a week.
Yeah, notice how she said don't eliminate your cardio. Like
Yeah.
no matter what your goal is, I don't care if you're trying to put on as much muscle as possible and you're a hard gainer, you still should do some form of cardio. It's good for your health. It's also going to help you keep a high functioning cardiovascular system,
Yeah.
which if you're doing legs and you're doing drop sets on your legs or you're doing a superset and you're limited by your cardiovascular system because you're so out of shape cardiovascularly, that's going to inhibit your ability to build muscle. So
Right.
Always do cardio, even if it's once or twice a week. Obviously, like Alyssa mentioned, we're hybrid. We train hybrid where we blend running and lifting together. So we're big proponents and big believers of that. Not saying that you have to run, but just find some form of cardio that is going to help you maintain a healthy cardiovascular system. It will help you build muscle. And then as far as the training, a lot of people, they try and focus on chasing the pump, doing all this volume. They try to focus on these sexy exercises that you'll see on Instagram. And those are all great for variety and it's fun. But the basis of your program, if you're trying to build muscle, you need to get stronger on your big compound movements. You need to be lifting in that 6 to 10 rep range on most of your exercises. And you need to lift heavy. You need to reach muscle failure. Typically, a really good place to start with your exercise selection, like I mentioned, is to keep them big compound movements. Beginning of your workout, you got to track the reps. You got to track the progression. You have to force your muscles to grow because they're not just going to grow by you coming into the gym, going through a random workout. You're chasing the pump. You're taking 3-minute rests in between sets, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. You see your friend and you talk for 10 minutes. Like that's not going to stimulate muscle growth. You come to the gym, you have 1 hour, you're focused, you put your head down, and you keep track of your progression. So what I like to do with a lot of my clients is at least pick for each muscle group 2 big compound movements they're going to focus on getting stronger at. So if it's the chest, maybe it's an incline barbell bench press and a flat dumbbell bench press. If it's the legs, maybe it's a deadlift and a Bulgarian split squat. Pick big compound movements that you can lift the most amount of weight. Stay in that 6 to 10 rep range. And as soon as you can lift a weight for 10 reps, that's your cue to move that weight up and you're trying to lift heavy because that is the progressive overload is one of the most foundational, the most basic things that you can do. But if you are not doing it consistently and you are just coming to the gym and doing the same thing over and over and over again, not doing extra reps, not doing extra weight, not taking it upon yourself to grab that next heaviest weight, reach muscle failure, you're not going to build muscle. So you have to chase progression. You have to almost become obsessed with trying to beat what you did last time. That's one of the most foundational, simplest, easiest things you can do to build muscle.
Yeah, and kind of hitting on that same topic, a lot of times people, get bored of their programs. And when they get bored of their programs, they will switch up their workouts or jump to the next best workout. So they try one program and they're like, this isn't working. They do it for a week, jump to the next, try something different. That is the worst way to see progress because if you don't stick to a program for at least 8 weeks, you're not going to be able to progressively overload on that specific program. So like you said, if you have 2 compound movements, if you have a split squat and a deadlift, and you do that for 8 weeks, you should see tremendous growth in not only, the mobility, the flexibility of those movements, your form, your technique, all of those things should improve, but also you should get stronger. You should be doing heavier weights. You should be doing more reps. But if you don't follow that program for a long enough amount of time, and 1 week you're doing some split squats, then the next week you're like, I'm kind of bored of split squats. I'm going to try something different. Do split squats 3 weeks later and you're like, well, why the heck can't I do more weight? Or why am I not getting better at this? It's because you need to continue with the same program in order to see that progress. And I think that's a big thing that people don't understand. And they think, like you said, too, doing all these sexy different movements and trying all these fun new exercises while, that can be fun and exciting. Maybe sprinkle some of that in at the end of your workout versus getting rid of these big compound movements and not being able to get progress in those movements. Put that stuff at the end or save that as like an add-on if you want to try something new, just kind of for fun, see how it feels, see if it's even worth doing. But you cannot jump around to program and follow some new influencer on Instagram and say, oh my gosh, she posted this workout and I have to try it, because that is not how you're going to see progress.
Yeah. A program is always way more important than this specific workout or, anybody can create a hard workout. But what we try to do as coaches is we create workouts that fit into a puzzle that is built in a program. So If you're following a structured program that's built on progression, you're going to see results. If you, like Alyssa mentioned, if you're jumping around from exercise to exercise every week, your workout looks different. It's not the same. You're not tracking progression. You're going to spin your wheels. You're going to struggle to see progress. And you're like, what the heck am I doing wrong? I'm working out 6 days a week. I'm not seeing progress. I'm telling you right now, follow a structured plan and you're going to see way more progress than you ever thought was possible. If you just get crazy and you're trying to do all these crazy exercises, like Alyssa mentioned, it's fun. It's fun to spice up your workouts, but the progress is made in the boring, mundane workouts repeated over and over and over again.
Yep.
Just a little bit better every time, 1% better. You're trying to beat what you did last time. And even if that's adding 1 rep on a bench press, hey, I got 200 pounds for 5 reps. I got 6 reps today. Okay, now I'm going to try and do 7, 8, 9, 10. It's super boring when you break it down. But if you can do the boring and stay consistent, the results are going to speak for themselves. So following a program is the most important thing that you can do, chasing progression, getting better. Because if we take the weights that you're hitting right now on most of your compound movements, if we fast forward a year and you're hitting the same weights, I would venture out as far as to say that if we did like a DEXA scan to look at actual muscle growth or an in-body scan or any sort of body composition scan, I would venture out to say that you probably visually look the same and your body composition metrics are probably about the same as far as your muscle mass. So get stronger, focus on that 6 to 10 rep range, lift heavy weights. It takes stimulus for your muscles to grow. Your muscles do not want to get bigger, but if you force them to grow by keeping the form and lifting heavier, eating enough protein, you're going to build muscle and you're going to be amazed at how much progress and strength progress you can really make in a short amount of time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that kind of covers, the expectations as far as nutrition goes and as far as, the programming and strength training in the gym. And like we touched on cardio as well. I think, some things too to keep in mind, we touched a little bit on is the recovery aspect. And if you're not taking your recovery seriously and getting in enough sleep, prioritizing your sleep, and you're going out and partying on the weekends and eating crap on the weekends, you come in and you try to get a good workout in, you're just not going to have the same energy. You're not going to have the same effort. And you're going to, again, spin your wheels because you're trying to achieve this big goal. And you're going to sit there and go, well, I'm doing all the right things. And as a coach, I'm going to say, okay, well, what'd you do last night? What did you eat last night? What did you eat the day before? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you, prioritizing these things that you think maybe aren't as big of a deal because in your 20s and your teens, you were able to get away with that. Those things as you get older, that becomes a lot more complex.
Yeah, recovery is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
at least 6 hours of sleep a night, if not 7, 8. It's so important. Not only for recovery, so like we recover the most when we sleep, um, but also for your energy, your ability to come in and put together big effort in your workout. The effort is what what's really going to change your body. If you're coming in doing the same thing over and over again, or you're under sleeping and you're just like, maybe I'm not going to have the initiative to bump up my weight today. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I'm sore. You're not going to change. You're just going to stay the same. So it's hard. It's hard to prioritize your sleep and your recovery and to say no to alcohol as much as possible. I mean, we'll have drinks every once in a while, and it's something that I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But if your goal is to build muscle, you do need to limit your alcohol consumption.
Absolutely.
You can have alcohol at special events. I mean, my sister just got married last weekend. We had some alcohol. We had fun. We have a concert that we're going to this weekend. I'm sure we'll have a drink, but it's in moderation. And it's very like, I was just telling Alyssa, actually, my sister's wedding was just this past weekend. And I literally don't think this entire year that I've had a drink yet. Again, I'm not telling you how to live your life. There's nothing wrong with having alcohol, but I just want to emphasize that point that if you're pounding alcohol every weekend, you are limiting your recovery. Alcohol inhibits muscle protein synthesis, and it is going to impact negatively your ability to build muscle. So
Yeah.
take that for what it's worth. Again, it's your life. You can live it however you want. But the facts are that alcohol will limit your gains. So
Yeah.
just think about that.
And it's just inflammation to the body. I mean, you can look so differently when you eliminate alcohol, just within like a week. You could see somebody who has been drinking, every day opposed to someone who stops drinking. You can see the inflammation in their body opposed to when they cut out the alcohol. So, like we said, recovery is something that you're going to be able to give the effort, and I think that's the biggest takeaway here is just the consistency with what you're doing. So, consistently getting enough sleep, consistently eating enough protein, that's gonna help with recovery also and the muscle building process, and then consistently following a workout plan. So, all in all, it's at the end of the day, it's all about being consistent and being disciplined to say no to things at times when you're like, I got this goal. I need to put my head down and focus on achieving this goal. It's not a permanent thing. I don't, I'm not going to be saying no for the rest of my life. I'm just trying to get to this goal. When you get to that goal, reevaluate, maybe let yourself have, some fun, celebrate with that, and then go back to the next goal. Like there's always got to be a goal. I think for me anyways, I always need a goal to like follow, something to work towards. And then once you accomplish that goal, give yourself a little bit of freedom, let yourself unwind a little bit, not stop working out, not stop, eating healthy, making good choices, but allow that maybe a time where, like you said, we can have a little bit of balance, go have a drink or, go have some ice cream and cookies with the kids or something. So,
Yeah, I think you're right. The goal with the time frame, you're chasing something, and fitness should add to your life. It should not take away from your life. I spent years being the person that would pack my food, take it everywhere with me
hey,
to family's house.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, ah,
There's a time and a place for that. Like if you have goals, you need to take the steps to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success to reach those goals. But there's also a lot to be said about practicing balance. So
yes.
I think that building muscle is one of those things like you're in a caloric surplus. As long as 80 to 90% of the time we're following the structure, the other 10 to 20% is not going to kill you. And that's what we've really found has been the best balance for us is to allow ourselves to go to ice cream with our kids every once in a while. Typically, we will try and track most of the time our
Yeah.
calories, and we'll try and track that in, or if it's a structured refeed day or something like that. But the main thing is you have to live your life as well. Don't be somebody that is so jaded by everything and like it's my way or the highway. I got to stick to this diet. Otherwise, I'm not going to build muscle. That's not fun. It puts a bad rep on people in the fitness industry. Like I think we already have one as it is. So show people that you can reach your goals while still practicing balance. That's what we have come to the conclusion after years and years and years of being super restrictive. We found that you don't see better results by sticking to the diet 100% of the time versus that 80 to 90% of the time. You can see just as good of results. And actually, I would argue that you'll probably see better results long term because you're allowing yourself balance and you're not going to feel this urge to either binge, get off the program. You feel like so rigid and strict that you can't stick with it. I think long term, you're going to have more sustainable progress and be able to maintain your progress if you allow yourself that balance. So I think it's something that's super important. Obviously, like we're very strict and diligent with our workouts and our nutrition, but there is a time and a place to have some fun, realize that life is short, and don't be so uptight about executing your diet perfectly 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's not a way to live unless this is like your job. Like, unless you're a professional bodybuilder that's hopping on a stage. Okay, yeah, you're trying to get to 5% body fat. You're probably going to need to have everything dialed in. But if that's not you, it's okay. You can build muscle while following your diet 80 to 90% of the time. You're going to see awesome progress.
Yeah, and like you said, we've been through this where we've cut, restricted, and I can tell you that me today compared to me then, I perform better. I have more energy. My hormones are
Your
better. I mean,
strength. Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I did not have a period when I was competing in those bikini shows. And maybe you look a certain way and your body fat percentage is, at an all-time low. And there is times still where, my brain wants to tell me that I should look that way or, I'll see a picture and that creates some body dysmorphia. But, when I really logically think about it, I'm like, my hormones are better. I can perform so much better. I can do a pull up. I can, do the Murph. And no way could I have done those things when I was competing in bikini competitions. I mean, the week of my peak week, I could barely do a leg press because I was restricted so much calories. You're cutting out good foods like fruits and veggies and water and so like going through that has taught me so many different things as far as like eating to perform and fuel the body and give the body the nutrients that it needs. But also, we have 3 little kids that are watching us. So we don't want them to grow up and go through those things. We want to show them that life's about balance. It's about working hard and we don't out train a bad diet. We can have, ice cream, like you said, and still come into the gym and work hard the next day. We don't say, "Oh, we get this ice cream because we had this really hard workout today." But we can say things like, "We moved our body, we exercised today, so it's okay to bring in these other foods." And the kids see that and they understand that versus, you know, showing them restriction and showing them that we can't go to Christmas dinner without packing our own Tupperware of food. And I think that has created the balance for me personally too. And that's a whole nother topic. So I'm going down like a whole rabbit hole here, but just to, you know, create balance and sustain the goals that you're looking to achieve is essentially what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we're all about sustainability and creating a diet program and workout program that you're going to be able to sustain and stick with and see progress long term. So if you are somebody that's looking for a program to be put together, you're looking for accountability, you're looking for coaches to help you with that, and you're not local, we do also offer online training. So we'd love to help you out. We have a form down in the comments in the description below. You can click on that link, you can fill out that form, and we can set up time to chat more about what your goals are, what you're currently doing, and how we can help you create the program and stick to the program and really hold you accountable with that. So thanks for tuning into the podcast today, guys. As always, if you guys have questions, let us know down in the comment section below, and we'll leave some videos on the top of the screen to watch next. Make sure you check those out, and we'll see you guys in the next one.